Hey, what's up? Welcome to Shane's Life is a Fantasy Draft. Today, we don't know what we're going to talk about, but it's sure going to be great right after the music. Wasting hours by the light of the moon. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy John, hanging out here. Shane's Life is a Fantasy Draft, episode 31. I know. Just out here, in Austin. I bet you didn't know I lived there. With me, as always, are my two brothers from another motherland, Greg Dennis and Daniel Gewurz. Fellas, how's it going today?
Hello.
What's up?
I'm making my triumphant return after a
Yeah!
Yeah, wow, that was a lot of excitement there, John.
Listen, I had to because, without Greg, it just doesn't feel right.
No, the tripod falls over.
Yeah, it's like if you've ever ridden a tricycle, but there's only the back two wheels, it doesn't work.
That's hard.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere.
You fall on your face.
I missed the show for a good reason last week. I must say, I went and saw my friends are in the New York City Music Festival, and there's a musical that my friend Jeff did the choreography for, and my friend Emily is I dare I say starring in. She doesn't have a starring role, but she has a wonderful role in it. And so I went to go support them last week. That's why I couldn't record.
That's good.
Oh, you had to spend time with your actual friends.
Yes, with my real life friends who live in the city that I live in.
See how it is.
And it was the musical is called The Gunfighter Meets His Match. It is incredible. Abby Payne, her name is Abby Payne. She wrote the music. It is. It's like lyrically is absolute masterpiece.
Can you still vote for it?
I think voting closed, but I highly recommend just check out just Google Abby Payne, Payne, I believe it is, and see her stuff. She's a musician too, outside of the musical realm. She has her own songs and music videos, but check her out. I'm giving her props. I don't even really know her, but I was really impressed with the show.
We can tag.
As you would have been, too, if you would have been there.
I mean, I couldn't go. I was
Not many
busy.
people could.
Yeah.
Sold out every night.
We'll be sure to tag her.
Well, then I feel like a lot of people went.
Small house.
We'll tag her in the Instagram.
Do it.
Yeah.
Gunfighter Meets His Match, too. Wonderful. Wonderful.
All right. Speaking of meeting their match, Urban Meyer.
No.
He's maybe not meeting his match, meeting his fate.
Yes, his fate.
So, I mean, not to glaze over or not to recap last week's news, but Urban Meyer essentially knew about some things, some domestic violence issues.
From an assistant coach.
Aaron Hernandez possibly killing a guy.
Yep.
And decided, you know what? I'd rather win some football games. I don't think this needs to be said, but it probably should be. That's pretty despicable behavior and a poor sense of priority on the part of the head football coach. I don't know what kind of new ground the three of us can really cover on this.
Well, let me try, because you're absolutely right? We can't take the side of, hey, domestic violence is bad. That's not really a thing that we need to rehash.
It's a ghost pepper take.
But how much do we want, and this could apply across sports, how much do we want the role of meting out of justice to rest with the head football coach? So yeah, he's aware of domestic violence, and maybe he should have called the police and he didn't do that. Or who knows, maybe he did and he's just not saying so. I don't know. But do we need Ohio State University head football coach to fire assistant coaches because he knows about the guy's personal life? Like, is that where we need to be? Do we need the administration of the Ohio State University football team to do more than the law is doing?
Well, so it kind of depends, right? I guess I say this all the time. Like, shocker, I once got arrested for DWI. I think you do say that all the time. Right. That did happen. I did not get fired for it. Now, I'm not saying that domestic violence and DWI are on the same plane. But, like, what is the threshold for a fireable offense?
I think there's a lot that goes into this question, right? I work in a field where if somebody is arrested, I automatically am notified that that person was arrested. And it will tell me what the person was arrested for, and it will tell me that I have to suspend them until further notice.
Arrested for anything?
Anything. Anytime you're arrested, you get flagged. Because when you get fingerprinted, your fingerprints wind up in this system that I have already fingerprinted you for. So as soon as your fingerprints pop up as a match, you get flagged. I wind up having to now do a compliance. You essentially how egregious was your crime? Was it involving children? Was it involving people in a caretaking situation? Most people return to work eventually. Some people don't because maybe it's a domestic violence issue, in which case you would not return to my job. Because we can't have people like that working with kids, right?
Sure, and I was about to say this assistant coach isn't working with kids, but he kind of is. He's working with college-aged kids.
Right, he's working with young adults.
Sure.
However, and so I understand that from my job's perspective and my job's lens to the world. That's if you're arrested while you're working for me. Okay? Now, chances are, if you've already been arrested before, you're going to get flagged before you start working for me. So you get fingerprinted, you get flagged. I find out that you were flagged. I find out you did something against children. I can't hire you. I can't take that chance again, right?
Right.
Because you have direct contact with kids every day. You could absolutely, the possibilities there, you've already done it once before, right? So the domestic violence thing, which keeps coming up, and this guy, Zach Smith, I believe his name is, kind of a scumbag, right? First told everybody that he was doing it in self-defense. Then the text messages pop up where he sends his now ex-wife a text message that says, "I'm sorry I strangled you last night." Which, okay, like clearly then you weren't doing it in self. No one strangles in self-defense. Most people put their hands up in self-defense, and they wind up with something called defense wounds. Defense wounds are generally not fingerprints on someone else's neck. Anyway, he gets arrested, right? Ohio State finds out. He should have been fired. I do believe he should have been fired in that moment.
In 2009, when he was arrested.
Yes, in 2009, he should have been arrested. I agree with that. However, when, the justice system is to serve justice and it is to rehabilitate people. I'm a firm believer that the justice system should rehabilitate. So if we're not going to say that the justice system is doing a good job rehabilitating people, then that means if you are convicted of domestic violence, you should serve a life sentence in prison. If you can never get a job again, you should have to then go to prison for the rest of your life. What is the use of being free if you're never free? That's a question for you guys.
I mean, there's no limit on his ability to get another job. not every job, first of all, does a background check, and not every job cares that you've been arrested. You don't have to report that you've been arrested, like on a job application or whatever. Or at a job interview, if someone asks you if you've ever been arrested, you don't have to answer that question truthfully. You would have to answer truthfully, have you been convicted? But
correct.
So
But what I'm saying is, like, I'm trying to, like, juxtapose, like, in my field, I'm working with children every day. If you have a crime against children,
sure, but I
don't know if you working with children is a good idea.
Right, but that's a specialized field, right? Not everyone works with children.
Right, and that's why I'm saying, like, I think, can that person go and then get a job at a company that sells computers? Like, yeah, absolutely. He should have, or she should have, a second chance at a life. I don't think you should cap how much money they can make because they made a mistake. If the justice system did its job and rehabilitated people, then we should have confidence in sending people back into the world at some point. The weird thing with this story is that somebody knew and didn't make other people aware of what was going on.
Right.
Should he have lost his job for what he did? I don't know. I can't really genuinely make that call.
So the question comes back to Urban Meyer and what the head football coach at Ohio State should have done. And should he proactively give information when he knows about domestic violence incidents? Yeah, of course. But it's not like the justice system wasn't doing what it was supposed to, right? I mean, the guy was arrested. It's not like the stories that you hear sometimes about big time football programs where the players are doing awful things and the police are sweeping it under the rug because they're big time college football players. This guy was arrested. So what do we want? What do we want from Urban Meyer in this case? Like, do we?
I do feel like he owed Ohio State the awareness of the situation. I think he owed them that. I think he should have gone to the director of athletics and say, look, putting it on your radar, Zach Smith was arrested recently for hitting his wife. I want to put this on your radar. You tell me what you want to do. You want to suspend him? I support that. You want to fire him? I support that too. And like I said before, I do think he should have been fired in the moment. I do think you need to get rid of a person like that. You need to let them go and get fixed and get the help they need, or go to jail, whatever they need to do. But I do think he should have been fired in 2009. But I do think Urban Meyer made a huge mistake, and he owed that to Ohio State.
So are we saying that? So now in 2018, like, are we saying that Urban Meyer now should lose his job for the mistake he made 9 years ago?
No, because this isn't a Joe Paterno covering up a defensive coach's pedophilia for 2 decades. This is not that. But again, I have it's hard for me. It's hard for me to make the call in this case because I do work with children. So I have kind of, anytime I see someone that commits a crime against them, I automatically, especially something like that, I do think that pedophilia is your sexual orientation, and that is just what you are attracted to. I don't think you can fix. It's documented. You are born with a certain sexual orientation. That's what you're into. And for 98% of the world, it's harmless and doesn't hurt, and there's not a victim every time. But, when it's children, there is a victim every single time. And so that one's hard for me, and I do think Joe Paterno should have been fired for that and for knowing that and allowing that to go on and not sticking up for those kids for 20 years. But, this, again, I don't know if he should lose his job, because I do think he should have told Ohio State in 2009 that this was a situation, and he didn't do that. Was he there in 2009?
No, he was at the University of Florida in 2009.
Okay.
And
right.
he
so
says
he owed University of Florida that.
I want to make sure we have our facts straight here. The Aaron Hernandez thing was 2009. This was 2015. Zach Smith.
Well, Zach
Oh, okay.
Smith was arrested in 2009 in Florida.
Oh, he was. Oh, so this was okay. He came with Urban
Yeah.
to Ohio State. Got
So
it.
okay, so he definitely owed Florida State that awareness of the situation. I don't think unless Ohio State says, "Have you ever been convicted of a felony or a misdemeanor?" Then, if he answered truthfully on there, then maybe Ohio State knew. I don't know. I don't know what kind of background check they run. Ohio State very well could have known what happened, right? But he should have told Florida State at the time what had happened.
Are we more upset that there's a domestic violent or a domestically violent? I don't know how to say that as an adjective. That there's a domestic abuser on the staff at Ohio State, or are we more upset that it was not disclosed before he was brought aboard?
Well, see, that appears to be the media reaction, right? Is everyone's upset that when asked about it in 2015, our Urban Meyer at the Big Ten Media Day said he didn't know, what they were talking about, and then later on, he said something else and said that he did in fact report everything properly. So that appears to be what the uproar is that he lied in a press conference, which
could both those things could be true. That he reported it properly and he lied in the press conference.
yes,
Are we?
yes,
Yeah.
those things are both true. He reported it properly to wherever he was supposed to report it, either to the Big Ten or to the school or both, and he lied about that to the media, saying he didn't actually know about it when he clearly did because he reported it. So what is Urban Meyer's crime in all of this? It's lying to the media, which everybody does. So I understand that you shouldn't employ a domestic abuser, right? Or it's uncomfortable, right? That's the thing, right? Like maybe
it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's an uncomfortable thing, but that brings me back to my first question here. Like, why are we asking the football program at Ohio State University to do more than the criminal justice system?
I think part of that is because the criminal justice system often woefully underserves victims of domestic abuse.
Sure.
So I think part of what you're seeing with this uproar is, we're expecting non-Justice Department employees to act with a swifter moral code, because the burden of proof to convict someone of a crime is higher than, determining whether or not they did it.
Yeah, and John, I think you bring up a good word when you say moral. I think when you start to get into moral grounds, that's not a good place to be. It's a very turbulent place to be, because people have different sets of morals in this world, and you really have to be careful with that, because you have that ultimately brings in questions of like what you would do when you're being moral about something. The justice you tend to carry out would be different.
Absolutely. And
am I making sense when I say that?
Absolutely. And we don't. Why would we want the Ohio State University football program to be setting these morals for anybody?
Right.
So,
right.
I mean, if we want to make a rule, right? If the NCAA wants to make a rule, it says anybody with a domestic violence arrest cannot be a coach for any NCAA program. Fine, they can make that rule. They're a, the NCAA. I don't know their business status, but the NCAA is a company that can do that. I don't want individual coaches and individual schools, and the Ohio State University can say, look, we refuse to employ anybody who has been arrested for domestic violence. The Ohio State University or any college is able to do that, but they haven't done that. And to put that on the head football coach seems to me to be a bad idea.
I think they're answering right now to to society and social politics. And I think this is very much a symptom of that, of saying, hey, look, I'm again, I am not sticking up for domestic abuse in any level, shape, or form, but I am sticking up for justice system and rehabilitation, and I am sticking up for people getting their fair chance and their fair shake at something, and taking we can't constantly be playing this moral good guy versus this moral bad guy role, because that's what got us into this mess in the first place. That's what got us into this terrible situation that we're in as a society at large. This is a very unique situation, and if Ohio State is going to fire Urban Meyer for this, they better make some sort of condition in hiring anybody else that is a fireable offense. You cannot just do this for your head football coach because it leaked on ESPN, and not do it for the physics teacher, or not do it for the janitor or the admissions, dean. Everybody needs to be held to that same standard.
Absolutely, and down to and including the head football coach as well. Like, it can't just be,
Yep.
Oh, well, this assistant coach who doesn't actually matter all that much, so who cares? We got rid of him. It has to be for everybody, top down.
Right.
So I've read this, or I am reading this, and I kind of want to get your thoughts.
This is an audio medium.
Right. Well, I am going to read it out loud.
Gotcha.
Can we source and credit?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
this
Of
person?
course. This is from the Columbus Dispatch.
That's quite a reputable periodical.
It's no
agree.
Flin Flon Observer.
Reminder.
No.
If I needed to be reminded.
Still here.
So it appears as though that the arrest box on a form was mistakenly checked by the arresting officer of Zach Smith.
Okay.
I am a little confused as to. I'll read on a little further here. The record had a box to note whether the defendant had been arrested. It was unchecked. The record also listed offenses of domestic violence and felony assault as reasons for the report. But a report written the day after the incident and released to ESPN journalist Brett McMurphy by a relative of the victim had mistakenly indicated an arrest. Huh.
So where this happened in Florida, I would assume.
No,
correct?
this was in Ohio. This is 2015.
Okay, this is the
Powell
2015
Police
one.
Department.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so this guy is a multiple-time domestic
He's
abuser.
a serial abuser.
Well, multiple. I don't know about serial. We have 2 instances, 09 and 15.
So the 2015 report had listed misdemeanor offenses of disorderly conduct and aggravated menacing rather than the felonies. Who said that was so the checkbox was erroneous, at least when it came to the felonies. Now I'm reading this in the context of the 100 or so Ohio State fans who gathered outside Ohio Stadium on Monday for a rally in support of Urban.
In support of Urban Meyer. I love, by the way, that we're talking about Columbus, Ohio, and the Ohio State University, which, I mean, the football stadium holds over 100,000 people. And they got
Correct.
100 people to show up for this rally.
This was outside the stadium. This was
I understand, but
Yes.
they got 100 people. That is the saddest sounding rally I've ever heard of.
So we have a quote from Lori Thompson, who said, "He's not being treated fairly. He's a good guy who brought our team a lot of wins."
Thanks, Lori.
As if the false association between winning and moral what's the damn word for it? Fortitude?
Sure.
Sure.
Morality.
Yeah. I win a lot, therefore I'm a decent human.
It's like when everyone was so surprised about Tiger Woods. He wins a lot. What do you mean he's a complete creep?
Right.
Yeah. It's like, both these things can be true. You can be really good at something and also be terrible at living. Or at least being nice.
I want to ask Daniel a legal question here.
Go for it.
So because the felony charges on the police report he was not arrested for because the box was unchecked, what does that mean now? As he's being processed through all this, as he's going through the court shenanigans, what comes of this? Now, is this not on the court's radar at all to prosecute him as a felony, as felony charges?
No, that's not how that works. He may not have been arrested at the time that police report was created. The way in which a felony is charged, generally speaking, I'm not 100% sure on the procedures in Ohio, but the way in which felonies are handled is the district attorney's office will file with the court what's called like a felony complaint or a felony information, listing out the charges and the supporting facts, as drafted by a person with knowledge of those facts. So they use the police report, whether or not he was actually arrested the day that report was created. They use the police report, they submit it to the court along with, the proper forms, and that brings him in for, an initial appearance. And then after that, they take his case in front of a grand jury, and the grand jury can indict him. My assumption is, I don't know anything about these criminal charges and whether he has a felony presently pending, but whether or not a box was checked on a police form is generally not going to change whether or not he's actually charged with a felony.
Right. So this is a non-story. This is really just a story to confuse people.
Well, so...
And it worked.
Yes. Yeah.
Got John hook, line, and sinker.
No. What I'm saying is I read that story and I was like, I don't get this.
Yeah.
Right, and that's exactly why I bring that up to Daniel, because I do feel as though there's going to be a lot of people that read that article and are going to say, oh, well, he was through a loophole, he's going to get away with a felony, and it's like, hold on.
The only loophole that's going to help him get away with a felony is being associated with the Ohio State University football team, right? Like that's the only reason he might not be charged with a felony.
It works at Baylor. And this brings me to a point that I continue to hammer on this show and in real life, which is the real people who are awful in this situation are the fans who are willing to overlook domestic violence. And there's a certain type of fan. They generally vote, a little more alt-right than the rest of us.
What?
What? And they'll support it. They support things like winning, and they support things like their authoritarian strongman football coaches, and they're willing to not just overlook but almost actively condone and try to justify things like domestic violence, things like racial oppression. And this is like true at college campuses across the country. Things like, college rape, or let's just call it what it is, rape.
It's just regular rape.
It doesn't
matter where it happens or how old you were when you did it.
Right, but I'm referring to it specifically in the context of college athletes.
Or back in the 90s when they called it date rape. It's like, oh, we were on a date and he forced himself on me. No, it's still rape.
It's these people, like the people who support that Brock Turner guy. The ones who come out in favor that guy who was on the Stanford swim team.
Oh yes.
Like the people who are just like,
he
don't
got a
ruin
slap
this.
on the wrist for like multiple rape offenses.
Right. It's those people, the people who will constantly come to the aid and abetting of people who do terrible things, or the idea that terrible things are okay so long as my team scores more points than the other team. Like, those are the people that really that I really have to hammer in this situation, and everybody else kind of exists in some sort of murky gray area.
But I think it's also interesting to think about, like, in the art realm. Where years ago, we used to have a saying, we say you need to separate the art from the artist, right? And that was almost a way of saying, like, I know they're weird in their personal life, but that was a damn good movie, right? Or
Roman
Jackson
Polanski.
Right, Jackson Pollock beat the
Gross.
I'm sorry, I mean to edit that out. I get so frustrated with the Jackson Pollock one because he was such a belligerent drunk and he beat his wife, yet we celebrate him for his splatter painting.
Right.
Well, I didn't. To be honest, I didn't know he beat his wife.
A lot of people don't know about his, because again, it's one of those things where, I mean, the reason we see their personal life is because it's such a social concept now. Sports is not what it was in the 1960s when you walked out there, you hit some baseballs, you went home, and you lived your life. Now your personal life is just as much a part of your professional life in sports. Your role model.
Well, that's really true across the board because now anybody can get a glimpse into your personal life via the internet.
Right. And via gossip and police reports and public records.
And, and private records that become public.
Right.
We are all investigative reporters now, should we choose to be.
Right. And again, it goes back, before what I was saying, he should. You do have to dismiss a person in that situation from their job. For many reasons. I don't care if he's a cook at McDonald's or whatever. He's still a part of a team, and you have to hold.
Here's the thing, though, right? So I'm trying to get, because you asked the question, and I wanted to find out the answer. I'm trying to figure out what exactly Zach Smith is charged with, right? So we have the incident in 2009 when he was arrested when he was an intern on Urban Meyer's staff of Florida. He was charged with felony assault. For allegedly roughing up his pregnant wife. It appears nothing came of that. I don't see a conviction anywhere. They stayed married. 2015. Yeah. His wife calls 911 several times. Finally does file for divorce, and they are divorced later in 2016. In 2018, Zach Smith is charged with criminal trespassing, which almost everywhere is barely a misdemeanor. He also gets a domestic civil order filed against him, a restraining order filed against him by his wife, and he is charged with the misdemeanor charge of criminal trespassing. And that is July 23 of 2018 that he was charged with a misdemeanor criminal trespass. So he is currently pending trial for a non-violent misdemeanor. And you want not only Zach Smith, but his boss to lose their jobs over that?
Because like we said before, we're now getting into a morality issue.
Okay.
Right? So, I think this is where the legal system fails. Is that if he put his hands on his wife and strangled her and caused bodily harm to her, you don't get a pass on that. You don't get a lower charge.
Okay, but who's proving that?
And I know, and now this is where we are. So now we have the text messages where he's like, "I'm sorry, I strangled you." So we do have that, but at the same time, because either police didn't do an appropriate job in their investigation into the system, or maybe he had a really good lawyer, and the lawyer was like, "Hey, look, let's really, let's look at the facts here. We don't have any proof that he hit her or whatever," and it makes it very difficult because now, let's say this guy is an abusive person, he gets off with a trespassing misdemeanor, probably has to pay some fines, probably gets a little probation, maybe not, maybe an ACD, something like that. And now he's right back out there, and with no warning signs of who he could potentially be. But then but I wasn't there that night when it happened. So it becomes a he said, she said thing. And in this case, it sounds to me like the wife's side is being silenced for some reason. And that's the part that annoys me in these situations, is that she's saying that he choked her, yet there's no charges to prove that he did that. So like that charge is a warning to the next person up that says, hey, just putting this on your radar. This guy's choked people before.
But that's the thing. And that's a failure of the criminal justice system. And that's a failure of, the police and the government agencies involved. It's not a failure of Urban Meyer, the head football coach at Ohio State University.
Right, yes.
So,
absolutely.
like, I agree with you in the abstract that, yes, people who beat their wives should be punished. But we need to be... We're not a society where we get to just say, okay, well, this surfaced through investigative reporting, therefore it must be absolutely true, and your job is gone. And not only is your job gone, but your boss's job is gone because he lied about knowing about it. This thing that we haven't proven is true. So...
Right, this thing that you haven't been convicted of, or even you're not even being tried for.
Right, not even being tried for. Not only not been convicted of, not going to be convicted of, not even being tried for.
So does this now get to a point where the three of us collectively are looking at this? We are essentially looking at other people looking at a Rorschach test.
Well, you're playing a moral vigilante right now.
Right.
That's what everybody's playing. So I'm looking at it as, if his wife said it happened, and not only that, but it seems like he has a history of this, it really could have happened. I don't know why he wasn't charged for it. Maybe she didn't go to the police in the right amount of time. Maybe there was no marks by the time she showed up to the police. Maybe she said, no, you don't have to take any pictures. Just take my word for it. I don't know. I don't know what that conversation looked like. So now I'm forced to play the moral vigilante and say, sounds to me like you beat your wife. Yes, you should have lost your job when that happened. And you need to go get your life right. You cannot get your life right and work a job as a football coach at one of the biggest universities in the country, not because I'm afraid of the publicity you're going to bring me. How are you going to make yourself better if you work 20 hours a day?
Sure.
When are you going to therapy? When are you serving, your community service? When are you doing the things that you need to do to not only make a penance for what you've done, but also to make yourself a better person and rehabilitate yourself? You can't do that at the same time.
I want to talk about that for a second, because what you've just described is restorative justice, and I don't feel as though the public at large, and what I mean by the public at large is not necessarily us three. I don't feel like the public at large cares about restorative justice. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I believe they should, but I feel as though we've gotten to a point that when we hear things like this about people and the people who, support them or employ them, that we're really more into the punitive aspects of the justice system rather than actually, like, we're much happier and delighted, and maybe delighted's not the right word, but we're much more inclined to take an axe to these people and cancel them altogether rather than point them toward areas where they would be rehabilitated and become better people.
Right, and there are prisons out there that do this very thing that we're talking about, where they talk to the inmates and they have therapy for the inmates and they have ways for them to get their lives, coping strategies, things that they never got when they were younger. Now, I don't know what the background is of everybody in the criminal justice system, but one thing that I do know is that if you're never given tools to cope with your social emotional states, you are not going to be successful in a society. So we love the concept. I mean, we love the concept of timeout, right? When a child's in timeout, nobody talks to them. Go over there, sit in the corner, don't say anything to anybody. How is that child learning how to cope with anything? when you send a criminal into jail and now he's surrounded by other criminals, in some cases smarter criminals, better criminals, guess what's going to happen when he leaves that prison?
Right. You are a product of your environment, and the prison environment is toxic to the point.
And not only that, but he has a record, right? So now who's going to hire him? We do it right now. We say, like, how dare you do that? You're I'm not giving you a job here. You have a record. As much as he could say, look, I'm changed. I've made steps to make my life better. Let me show you what I've done. And it's one of those things where it's so, even for me as somebody who has a job where I hire people, I think about it sometimes, and I do believe that people deserve second chances. And again, within reason to my profession.
The only two people that I know of who have been to prison and come back and have rehabilitated their image are Martha Stewart and Michael Vick.
Martha Stewart doesn't even count. That was insider trading.
Sure.
It's not even a real crime.
I mean, she went to the federal prison for it.
She did, but that is the kind of crime where, like, a bunch of people that were, like, really wealthy and they were sick of getting schemed on with, like, trading, and they're like, we should make that a crime. How dare you acknowledge?
I really wish more people knew that all trading is insider trading.
Yes, absolutely. It's a publicly traded company. Most of it's public knowledge. It's out there already.
I think the issue with
anybody.
Insider trading is that the information is being acted upon before it becomes public. So
correct.
That's why it's problematic.
What I'm saying is all trading is insider trading when it's done at the very top.
Sure, as it would have to.
I mean, if you own the company and you're like, oh, you know what, we got to release this information about
dump this before people get our Q2 earnings.
Right, and you're like, okay, well let me my stocks are worth this much. Let me get rid of them now before we plummet. And it's like, in my head, it's like that would trigger me. I was like, oh, Martha Stewart today sold half of her shares of her company. Me as an owner, I'm like, ooh, I better sell my shares now too, because sounds to me like there's something bad on the other end of this.
Everything okay, Martha? You there?
You up?
Yeah, exactly.
You up? No, I'm down 42 points.
That's the problem. So I think we take a break here.
All right.
We recollect ourselves, and we come back with something else. Sadly, I don't feel like we resolved this issue, but this isn't really an issue that gets resolved.
No, you can't. You can't resolve morality. That's why unfortunately we have politics to try to make up for the moral issues in society.
But that's my issue. That's my issue, right? I don't.
A whole lot of good.
Why are we asking? I keep asking the same damn question. Why are we asking football coaches or sports figures to make these moral decisions when we have agencies and structures in place that are supposed to be doing this? That's my problem. I don't want them to do that.
Because they're not doing it. They're not doing enough. Yeah.
Occam's razor says it's because those agencies aren't doing a good enough job.
Right.
Sure.
Absolutely.
4402. Yeah, me too. No.
I have water.
So fucking special. Yeah, I drank two 12-ounce glasses of water all day. 24.
2 waters. I want you to know just how hard I worked at getting those 24 ounces of water. Filled a 12-ounce cup twice.
All right, I'm lying to you guys because they're cans.
You drink cans of water? Oh, okay. Oh, which cut is it LaCroix? Hops brand.
Bubbles and water, man. Don't matter who makes it.
Is our second topic sparkling water?
No.
Okay. That'll probably be the last one because we're at 45.
Yeah, I don't want to spend the next any amount of time talking about the NASCAR CEO.
I don't want to spend any time talking about NASCAR.
I think the Aaron Donald story might be
pretend it
pretty
does not
interesting
exist.
because his holdout has actually made it to a point where he loses a year of eligibility to get to unrestricted free agency. That's how much he cares about getting a new contract. Those guys don't make it this far.
All that's gonna happen though is he's just gonna wind up holding out. They're gonna negotiate some terms. And they're gonna wipe. They're gonna forgive his fines, and everyone's gonna be fine.
But I mean, he's losing a year of eligibility, so he's going to be, when he should be an unrestricted free agent, he's going to be a restricted free agent. That's a real thing that he's cost himself.
Yeah, NFL contracts are funky. The more I read up about it, they're funny to me, because it's like I'm the highest paid receiver, then like 3 weeks later, someone else is the highest paid receiver, and then previous receiver is like, oh well, I deserve to be.
And
the
then neither
highest
of them
paid
actually get the money.
receiver. And it's like, right, yeah, none of your money's guaranteed, and football contracts are just weird contracts. I would just rather you say, look, your base salary is, you're going to get your base salary, and it's a good amount of base salary, right? Now, I'm done with the performance-based incentives. Those should be extra, and they shouldn't be as valuable. You go to the Pro Bowl, we'll give you $1 million if you go to the Pro Bowl. No. You give him $100,000 if he goes to the Pro Bowl. He needs to make his money. Like, it should not be judged by someone's voting of him to whether or not he gets his $1 million.
You're listening to Shane's Life is a Fantasy Draft. Powered by Geeks on
Shane's Life is a Fantasy Draft is filmed before a live studio audience.
All right, we're back. Carmelo Anthony's a rocket.
This guy.
He's more of a firework than a rocket. But
He's a sparkler, if we're being honest with ourselves.
Yes. He is.
So
he is a snake.
Mike D'Antoni quit the Knicks, gave up $12 million because he hates Carmelo Anthony.
And that was back when he was good.
It was back when Carmelo Anthony was good. And that Knicks team was like on its way to the playoffs for the first time in 3 decades.
But they just couldn't get there.
No, they made the playoffs that year for the first time
They
in I believe almost a decade.
Oh, that's right.
In 3 decades they hadn't made the
That's
playoffs.
right.
But so now Mike D'Antoni is stuck with Carmelo Anthony again, an objectively worse Carmelo Anthony who has very recently said he's not going to come off the bench and he's not going to be the third option when he was behind Russell Westbrook and Paul George. Now he's
lucky in Houston because he doesn't have to come off the bench right
That's
now.
true.
They lost everybody in free agency.
I mean, this team got so much worse, which is sad because they were minutes away. They were
Gouged.
a Trevor Ariza average game away from beating the Golden State Warriors.
All Trevor Ariza had to do was not miss 16 threes.
Yeah. And yeah.
So he's a liability on defense, to put it diplomatically. He's a washed up shot creator, to put it diplomatically.
Yeah, and you're not being very diplomatic at
very
all,
diplomatic.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're gonna say that about his offense, you should say on defense he's a ghost. So
What do you suppose this does for, like, why do you make this move if you're the Houston Rockets?
because he
Other than the banana boat.
right. Well, I think that's a huge part of it, because even though he had just signed an extension, people were talking about Chris Paul leaving the Rockets, and they need him. You know, you lose Chris Paul, and the Rockets go from being minutes away from being Western Conference champions to just being another 5 or 6 seed in the West. So
Right.
you need to keep Chris Paul happy. And if Chris Paul walks into, Daryl Morey's office and says, hey, Carmelo Anthony is going to be made available on a minimum deal, go pick him up, then you do it, right?
I mean, I guess.
Are you just doing it because it's the only option?
Like, did he say, I'm not coming back unless you give me Melo?
It's what it sounds like. And it's the only way that the deal makes sense, right? Because Daryl Morey is huge into analytics. And Mike D'Antoni was doing analytics before we knew what that was.
Right.
And Mike D'Antoni hates Carmelo Anthony. So what other reason is there that the team is doing this?
I think he's doing it. I think it's. This is obviously going to be outside of the analytic realm here. I think they're doing it because he has to still have good basketball left in him. He has to.
Does he?
He's a little bit older. He has to have good basketball left in him. How old is he? 31?
34.
Yeah.
34?
I'll tell you this. I don't have any basketball left in me.
Well, you never really had any in you. The only time you had a little basketball in you is when you ate the ball from your Hot Shots basketball game.
So this is like,
if anybody remembers that.
this is not to say like from all we can gather, Carmelo Anthony, decent locker room presence.
Yeah, really good dude.
Seems like a really good guy, but like, do you sign someone at that price for being a really good guy?
Well, I mean, the price in terms of dollars is nothing. He's I think it's $2.5 million. It's basically a minimum contract.
So
he's on a
well,
minimum.
This is just
deal.
this is a low risk with a lot of upside.
But didn't he just get paid?
Yeah.
A
Yes,
buttload
He
of
took
money?
yeah.
So it's like He took
Yeah,
what,
he
27,
isn't taking a
29
hit
million,
at all.
something like that, 27.
I believe
Right. The
the
Atlanta
Atlanta
Hawks.
Hawks
So
agreed.
he's
The Atlanta Hawks
he's gonna
agreed
make
to pay
$30
his
million.
salary.
Yeah, he's gonna make
Right.
right. So he's gonna make $30 million.
Could you
this
imagine
year.
being paid $27 million not to go to work?
Oh God.
Right.
Matter of
To
fact,
get
to work
fired.
for one of your competitors.
Oh.
I'm just saying.
And the other team and a different competitor is gonna pay for your salary.
Why does
I got fired by Apple to go work at IBM, and Dell paid my salary.
that's actually how I got this job?
The move doesn't make any sense, and I know that you can't go and give like Mike D'Antoni credit for why the Rockets are as good as they are when it's quite obviously Harden and Paul. But if you bring Carmelo Anthony into this and the team stops doing Mike D'Antoni's offense the way that the Knicks did when Carmelo Anthony was brought in, like that puts a huge damper on the flow of the team and ruins the thing that they did the best, which was offense. So I don't
Right.
I don't see any way this makes the Rockets any better.
Well,
Especially if he's not going to come off the bench. Now that I know that Carmelo Anthony is 34, I'm sorry, if you're 34, you need to be coming off the bench. you can't be playing with Harden and think you can, you can't be a little Shih Tzu playing with pit bulls out there.
Now, one thing I will say is it's not like the Rockets had a lot of ball movement last year. This was a lot of ISO basketball, particularly when you're dealing with Chris Paul and James Harden. It's
Right,
ISO and
which-
pick and roll.
Carmelo Anthony does neither. Right? Like Carmelo Anthony will isolate all day long, but he won't run the pick and roll.
Right.
He won't run the pick and roll as a ball handler or as a roller. So and he won't run the pick and roll as the guy standing in the corner waiting for the open three. Like he won't do any of those things. So you're going to have to play a completely different brand of offense to get Carmelo Anthony touches.
Yeah. Since when has he ever been the sort of Ray Allen spot-up guy on the perimeter?
Only on the Olympic team when he actually realized he was the sixth best guy on the team.
And he was always the first best guy on those teams. He was
Yeah,
great at that.
I'll never understand how he doesn't realize that that's his best possible role.
If Carmelo Anthony played as Olympic Carmelo Anthony on the Rockets, that team wins an NBA championship.
Yeah, I mean, he hit like 16 threes in a game against Nigeria. I get it, but like he's not going to do that because he doesn't play that brand of offense for whatever reason.
Right.
Speaking of ISO, the Harden crossover.
Oh, where he
this
killed the
year,
guy?
that nasty crossover. I love watching that. He takes so many steps.
Of course.
After that crossover. He takes 7 steps. They're little tiny baby steps. And the ref is watching him the whole time. But I think the ref is so mesmerized by what just happened.
By the way, all you have to do is Google Harden crossover.
I did. It's
Oh,
amazing.
that's it.
And
I just call it. I don't even call it the crossover. I call it the over.
died.
Because that was over.
That's
Look,
unkind.
being crossed over is the most embarrassing
Yeah.
thing that can happen to
I
an
would
NBA
rather
player.
be dunked on than crossed over.
Oh, you could give me that. You could dunk the net. You could jump over my head, and your balls can hit my forehead, and I will feel less embarrassed than if you cross me over.
Shout
in
out to
open court.
Frederick Weiss.
Yeah, I was about to say Vince Carter did ruin a person's life by doing that.
Yes. But I would take that over being crossed over in open court. I mean, there is nothing more embarrassing than a grown man falling, being duped from the ball going from one hand to the other.
That was ironically the only basketball move I had. That was well before I was 34.
I mean, crossover, they teach you that in, like, the third day of basketball camp. Like, oh, you're right-handed? Okay, I'm going to teach you how to dribble with your left hand
Right.
for a little bit.
Oh God,
So the Rockets are, I think we can all agree,
they're worse.
They're worse. I don't think
Still the second
Yes,
best
I
team
don't
in the
think
West.
they're markedly
Still
worse.
the second best team.
they're probably like 3 or 4. I mean, they're not going to win
No.
as many games as they did
I
last year.
think Vegas had
But
them 3 games worse after the Carmelo Anthony deal.
Sounds about right.
I'd say they're 2 notches down from where they were last year.
Which sucks because the Golden State Warriors only got better.
Yeah, I mean, Golden State this year is good. If Golden State really wanted to, they could win every game.
I
If
really
they
like.
really
I really
wanted to
hope
this year, they
DeMarcus
could do it.
Cousins is, the DeMarcus Cousins that we remember.
Awesome. Oh, God, me too.
Well, he won't be back until January. I gotta
I
assume.
don't. I think he's.
yeah.
I think he's gonna be starting
March?
the season.
No. There's no way. Off an Achilles?
I'm on it.
There's
He had
no
microfrac-
way. He's
he had
not coming.
microfracture surgery, correct?
Hold on, I'm on it.
I'm going to say he's coming back January. No way he's going to be ready for October. That happened midway through the season.
He's only 20. He's
Dare
only
I say.
27.
His baby.
Baby.
I was 27.
I
Things
feel
were
like
all
he's
right.
been in the league for 15 years.
He has been. That's what you're forgetting. He went to college at a very young
prodigy.
age. Doogie Howser. Speaking of which, Zion, shout out, going to Duke. I am so excited for Zion to be in the NBA. I cannot. I've never been so hype for someone out of high school. Not even for LeBron. I didn't even care as much as I do for Zion. Zion's gonna posterize the entire NBA. Zion, and Zion. Those are the best basketball players I know.
Because they spit hot fire. Yeah, he's
They do.
He's gonna miss a big chunk of the season. Is what the current, most recent news is.
Yes. There is no way he's coming back. I mean,
Yeah,
I
it's a
would
good
say
chance.
he might be pushed out to March. But January, for sure.
Speaking of injuries, stop me if you've heard this one before. Philly's first-round pick fractured his left foot,
Are they still tanking?
and he's gonna miss a significant. He's gonna miss a significant amount of his rookie season, just in case you haven't heard that from Markelle Fultz, Joel Embiid, or Ben Simmons before.
Are the Sixers gonna go back to tanking?
I've never heard
Like,
that.
are they scared? Are they shook? Are they
Is-
scared of
is-
Boston now?
No, I'm
They're
sure
shook.
they're fine. I mean, they're still bringing back the whole crew that won 50 games last year.
Did Markelle Fultz not play that much
No,
last year?
He played like 10 games.
No, he missed a lot of the season.
And Joel Embiid the year before didn't play that much?
Yeah, Joel Embiid the year before played 25 games, and the year before that he didn't play at all. Ben Simmons missed all of last year.
No, not last year. Last
Or
year
not-
he was
I'm
the
sorry,
rookie
not
of the
last
year.
year. The
Which-
year before.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years
So
ago.
every Sixers rookie has missed.
He wasn't a rookie when he won
Correct.
Rookie of the Year.
Well, Blake
but, you
Griffin
know.
did that too. He missed his rookie year.
Well, let's red shirt.
He had a red shirt year.
Oh, man, let's get out of here.
All right.
It's
All
late.
right.
Are we taking?
So
are we taking
follow
a
us
break
on
before we do
Yeah,
socials?
let's take a quick break and then we'll throw out some socials.
We'll come out for the encore.
Wrestling, sports, movies, and more. The Geeks Unlimited squad is always mic'd up and speaking on the world of nerd. Geeks Unlimited keeps your ears lit with the Announcer's Table, professional wrestling's hottest podcast that you haven't listened to. Hosted by B-Rye and our very own Canadian screw-up, Daniel Gewirtz. Hey, that's me. The homie Steve is talking flicks with the aptly titled podcast, Talking Flicks. And of course, this impressive pod, Shane's Life is a Fantasy Draft. Check them out on Apple iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. Subscribe and share, listen, and learn. Don't forget to slide into those DMs on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Geeks Unlimited, taking over the world, one podcast at a time.
All right, we're back. It's been a nice, fun discussion on Urban Meyer and Carmelo Anthony. Do make sure you check us out on Instagram at Shane's Pod.
Shane's Pod. That's where you find us.
Shout out to Geeks Unlimited, as always, for distributing us. Apparently, we're now the last podcast on Geeks Unlimited, which makes us sole survivors.
The last geek standing.
Yep.
We made it through the geek-apocalypse.
The last of the Mohicans. Daniel, where can they find you?
I now post exclusively through Shane's Pod. I haven't tweeted in months. Just follow us on Instagram at Shane's Pod.
You can follow me on the .co, johngorman.co. I don't know what I've written recently. It hasn't been much, but it's been good. And you can find me on Instagram at Hey Gorman.
Hey, Gorman. And
I'm good at Hey Gorman.
Gregor, where can the good people find you?
Oh, I'm pooping.
On the toilet.
I can't remember if that joke made the show the last time we did it, but anyway,
On that crappy note.
Oh God.
That joke really tanked.
It's been fun.
Oh, I'm all flush.
I can't.
That's it. We're calling it off.
Who does
Thanks very
number
much,
two
you
work
guys.
for? That was the only funny part of Austin Powers. Yeah, no, that's it. We're calling it a night. Good night, everybody. Shouts out, of course, to our friends in Jacksonville, Florida, and Flin Flon, Manitoba. We'll catch up with y'all. Next week is Pride Week in Flin Flon, so make sure you make it out there. All of the support.
Thanks for all the support.
Till next time, you show that turd who's boss.
Oh, God.
John Gorman's going to play us out.
What does that mean to play us out?
It means that we can't afford any other music than the free music that you give us. I kind of want to put like an Insane Clown Posse song at the end and see if anybody does anything about the copyright
I
on
want to
that one.
watermark my own music.
John Gorman. Joints.
Premiumbeat.com.
It's lit. JohnGorman.bandcamp.com.
I haven't stopped recording.
Whisper name, adoring gaze, the bliss of laying still. Drink the night, come and chase the light. I'll breathe you in until this is the life we dreamed of living. This is the sin we keep forgiving. This is my love for you. We're making it every day. Sun on the rise like Sunday morning. Kiss on the lips without a warning. Baby, you send my spirit soaring up and away. Hey, hey. In the park, on the boardwalk, you claim it's never planned. On the desk, up against the wall, every chance we can. You are the spark that stirs the engine. You are the charm that breaks the tension. You are the star that lights my legend all of the way. Sun on the rise like Sunday morning. Kiss on the lips without a warning. Baby, you send my spirit soaring up and away. Hey, hey.
I play my cards like a Shark Tank spilling, Lord willing. I'ma put this car in park and rest easy like a house guest. Your sex is excess, your game is recess on a summer playground or in a sundress. I guess if happiness is caffeinated, I'm espresso on a metro. I confess this intermezzo isn't just to call you special. You're the super to my Nintendo, it's impressive. I can't express it. Words they fail me like a lit class, but all this wit lasts is just another pass at clinking glasses from my past and my present. And your presence soothes me en masse like a warm air mass to thaw the spring and bring life to the almost dead, and the light to find my way again. And I know as long as you keep shining, I'll be blinded, I'll keep grinding. I'm reminded how aligned we are combined.
This is the life we dreamed of living. This is the sin I keep forgiving. This is my love for you. We're making it every day. Sun on the rise like Sunday morning. Kiss on the lips without a warning. Baby, you said
3 Olympic events. It's the stop, drop, and
Open up shop.
Wait, was that something we said before?
That was something you struggled to say on the podcast.
Yeah, you tried saying it. You tried the DMX games. What did we say? We said it was going to be something else. Then you're like, it's going to be a triathlon. Triathlon, something like that.
Oh, shit.
That's what we need to put on. That's what you need to put on Instagrams. You need to take a video and then put a little text bar on it that says the DMX games triathlon, and then the video is him going stop, drop, shut him down, open up shop.
Oh yeah, you have to shut him down.
Well, shutting him down and opening up shop is the third event.
It's like the biathlon.
Wait, the third event of the triathlon is the biathlon?
Well, you have to stop, drop. Those are your first two.
Yeah, because when you shut him down, it's like the skiing, and you open up shop. It's the shooting.